We're live. Seems like it. Okay, good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Dojo Live, broadcasting from Mexico City. And today we're going to have a special guest, which he's not exactly right around the corner from all of us. I mean, here in Mexico. He's like 8 hours away, ahead of us, if I should say. He's in Denmark, and his name is John Nielsen. And there are many things that can be said about John. He worked with Nearsoft, with all of us, as one of our team building activities, one of our team building weeks. And but I guess that John is better suited. There are many things that can be said about him, but he's better suited to introduce himself. So I'm going to let John do the talking without further ado. John, welcome to the show, and we really appreciate your having agreed to be here with us today. Your participation is priceless for a number of reasons, and I'm sure it's going to be as well priceless for the audience out there. So, John, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Carlos.
It's a pleasure to have you here, John. I'd like to also just quickly mention before we start, John, before I pass on the mic to you, obviously, that we're also going to have a co-host, one of our fellow Nearsoftians, who's Rafael Manrique. He's in our headquarters in Hermosillo. And John is, Rafael is having a little bit of issues right there with logging in. You can see him, but he'll be back with us shortly. But he's there, he's out there, but he's figuring it out. You know, Google is unpredictable, folks. Sometimes it's not perfect. I wish it worked, but it isn't. Okay, John. Let me do something here, something that I really want to do. I've always wanted to do this, John, and it's one of these shows, which is get naked.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna get kind of naked, right? And I'm not really going to get naked. I'm just joking. But I want to show something off, which is here. So now you can see it. DojoLIVE.
The Dojo
brand new shirt.
Yay.
Yes, exactly. So now I did it. Oh, I'm free. I feel
beautiful. I want one.
Excellent. You'll get one of these, and you'll get some other. Yeah, absolutely. I'm serious. Some tokens of appreciation that we send our speakers. I'm not going to tell you what it is. So, okay. Let's set aside the chit-chat. And then, John, tell us about your chosen topic. Your chosen topic is love your job or die trying. What do you mean by that? I mean, do we have to die trying? What's going on, John? You're the mic's holder.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully we shouldn't die from work. Just the opposite. Work should be something that lifts us up. So I chose the topic, love your job or die trying, because that's really my big passion, and it's been my work for the past decade. I really, really love improving stuff. You know, so when I was a kid, I had a ton of Legos, and I would take apart VCRs and try to fix them. And that led me to studying engineering. And I thought I would work with technology, but I then saw during the studies that, you know, the job prospects looked kind of grim. Those jobs working behind the desk on technology didn't really appeal to me. But what caught my attention was, hey, these guys, these know-it-alls with their high educations and their insight on technology think that they can fix everything and make it work, but then still it fails. And so you can plan forever and know your stuff, but still when an organization, a workplace have to make stuff, then we fail. And it's because we forget the people side of things. So my big passion shifted to fixing how we actually work together to make stuff work. So it's not enough that you know your stuff, your technology, or whatever your trade is. Mm-hmm. It's how we work together, it's how we communicate. That's really important. So that's been my topic for the past 10 years, and I've done hundreds of seminars. Like I did the fantastic workshop with you guys. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we can get more into what I think of Nearsoft and the fantastic things you're doing there. So for me, it's all about helping people improve their workday and to make their lives better through making work better. Or as I say, let's make work work. Because, you know, I'm not a religious person, but it's fine if you are. But I do believe that we only have one chance on this earth. And there seems to be a consensus amongst almost all people that we should be happy. Okay, we should be happy in life. And work is the single activity you spend the most time on. So if we agree that we should be happy, okay, how do we do that? Well, you cannot overlook the importance of the hours spent at work. I think that if work is a 7 to 10 hour daily hole in living, then something is clearly missing, and we need to fix that. And that's what I help people, and that's been my passion.
Okay, excellent, John. So that's a great introduction, and actually, and I think I briefly mentioned this to you in our previous conversations, is that sometimes the concept of happiness, especially at the workplace, even more especially in today's workplace, it could have different tones depending on where you are located geographically, what culture you belong to, and so on and so forth. So, my first question to you, John, would be: do you think that the concept of happiness at the workplace can be utterly generalized regardless of your whereabouts, regardless of where you live, regardless of your culture? I mean, is there a specific formula to just simply be happy at work? Or could it be that it has different shades of happiness, or different ways or approaches to aim at experiencing happiness depending on where you are, depending on who you are, especially? So, which would be the case, John, from your standpoint? So, I don't know if you can elaborate on this. We'll appreciate it. And Rafa, welcome. Finally, you made it.
Yes, sorry, I was struggling to get to the internet connection.
Right.
But I'm here now. John, it's a pleasure to meet you. And
hello, Rafael, co-host.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll do the introductions in a minute.
Because,
yeah, let's do the introductions in a minute, because we have I just asked John a question about happiness at the workplace, depending on variables or something something that can be generalized. John.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, let me try to ask that, and if it's not clear, then please ask again. It's a very complex question. It's a very good question. So I look a lot to the studies of human psychology, and we've been working on that for 100 years, but especially the last almost 20 years, positive psychology has really done a lot, and to discover what is basically human universals. So yes, the culture you live in plays a big role, but we are all the same human beings, and it is the same things that matter to us. So like the first level to build on is, well, being happy is in part, you know, it's positive emotions, it's smiling, laughing, feeling love, connection, living the good life. For example, my Danish friend here, Mr. Tuborg, will make you slightly happier.
There you go.
So partying, having a beer, people around the world enjoy that. You know, they want to have a good time. Me, I'm currently traveling Europe. I brought my fishing gear, you know, sitting by the river, fishing, having a beer, watching the sunset. Those are really, really nice things, and they make us happier. But that's not enough. That won't make for a fulfilling life. Like psychologists talk about subjective well-being, and they talk about human flourishing. This flourishing is interesting, and I do recommend the book, actually just called Flourish by psychologist Martin Seligman. So he lines up that, yeah, positive emotions are nice. So that's kind of a human basic, but you need more to live a good life. And flourishing means that you succeed with whatever goals you decide to take on. You know, you're successful in building a family, if that's what you want to do. And so it's also having aspirations. And it's more than positive emotions. So going to another party on Saturday is nice. Everybody wants to do it, but it gets old, and you need more. And so, yeah, people are very different. in terms of what they value and what they would prioritize. But still, we see that there are basic human universals. Like, let's start with the most important one. That is the need to belong, to be part of a group, part of a community. Very few people just want to be like solo people. Like, I have my own job. I travel. A lot of the time I spend alone. But still, I long for community and for human connections, and luckily I can use the internet to stay in touch with people when I'm away. But it's really great to getting back to the people I know and I love and I work with, and actually being there in person. And just to bridge that to you guys, this is what I think you do so well at Nearsoft, with what, 230 plus people, and you've actually managed to build a culture that I would describe as a community, that where people have a sense of belonging. And not only is that a huge source of human flourishing, it's also a great motivator. So it's like a win-win if a company decides to do that and put relationships and community in the center stage. And obviously, if you live in India or Japan or Mexico and Europe, culture is different, but the sense of belonging is still there.
Okay. Thank you, John. That was great, actually. And but okay, I have my own set of questions, like I said. But I'd like to just pause for a minute and quickly introduce Rafa. Rafa, thank you for making it with us today here. Actually, I know you were experiencing some glitches.
Yeah.
So Rafa is Rafael Manrique is a fellow Nearsoftian. He's in our headquarters in Hermosillo. So again, thank you, Rafa, for being here.
You're
Rafa,
welcome.
you have a question, right? Go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Yes. About this, in your experience, what do people value more when it's about happiness at workplace?
So I do believe that the people they work with, the relationships, are the most important ones. Whenever I see a survey on this, and where I'm from, most unions, like employee unions, have surveyed their members, and they all say that the people they work with is the most important factor. And this is something that's sometimes overlooked in recruiting. So we have managers recruit by talent, when I believe we should have staff recruit by human connection.
Yes.
So involve your people in recruiting the next persons, because we're going to spend time together, and we should actually feel like we want this new person in our family, which hopefully that what people feel like. So that's definitely the most important one. I couldn't mention a few others very important ones that psychology, different researchers seem to agree on. One is, you could call it self-efficacy. You could also call it feeling competent, feeling that you actually know what you do and you actually manage to do what you feel is a good job. So that is about having the right fit between talent and skills and the job you're actually doing. And there's some very interesting research on this. If I should elaborate on that, by psychologists, among others, my friend Robert Biswas-Diener, an American who researches what he calls core strengths. So these are not things you learn at a course or in a class, but actually the sides of your personality that where you do really, really well. And if you manage to express those core competencies, those core strengths, as they call core strength, in your work, you're actually much happier and do a better job. A specific example is one of more than 60 strengths they've identified is one called Spotlight. And I did their survey, and turns out it's one of my strengths, which seems natural with the job I have. So I love being like on the line. I love being in front of 200 people in a workshop at your place. I love being on a live show with no script and seeing what happens. Some people hate that, and it would kill them. But if you do have that as a strength, it will make you happier if you manage to express it. So at work, we could look to who does what. Should not be based on, as it usually is, based on what's your job description, what's your title, what's your place in the hierarchy. No, where are your talents? And so instead of having some project manager present to upper management, have the guy on the team who's really the expert and loves to do that, have him present instead. Because he will then express a core strength, and he will be happier and do a better job.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, again, and Rafa, thank you for your question. Do you have anything else, Rafa, or can I step in?
No, go ahead, please.
All right, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of eager, and my chest is burning because there's some. As you know, Rafa, you and I are immersed in a company that focuses greatly on happiness, and which is a great thing. And in my almost 50 years of existence, I have rarely seen such a company that focuses on this and places such importance on its teammates' well-being. However, there's one thing. There's a twist to this from my standpoint. Is, and I've mentioned this in a couple of posts I've written. John, do you think that there just could be similarities or even differences between pure happiness at the workplace and what I call cheerfulness of the workplace? Or is it the same thing? Or does cheerfulness lead to happiness eventually? I mean, lasting happiness that can permeate people's lives in a deep way, in a rooted way? Or shall we just focus on cheerfulness as a way to eventually lead to an enduring happiness? How does it work? Or is there a difference on this, John? What do you think?
So this is an area that's actually been thoroughly researched, and I believe you need both. You need the, as you call it, cheerfulness, but you also need more. So when you say cheerfulness, I would put that in the category of positive emotions. One researcher that's worked a lot on this is Barbara Fredrickson, who wrote the great book Positivity. And her studies show that we should experience positive emotions most of the time. That does increase our well-being, our quality of life. So being in a happy workplace where the mood is high, and people enjoy being there and they're cheerful and they can laugh, and as I experienced when I was with you, they can even have a beer during work hours on Friday. That's all great, and you need that, and it adds to it. But something is still missing if that's all you have, because then it's just pleasantries. People also need sort of I talked before about feeling competent and expressing your strengths, but it's also being engaged and having a sense of meaning. Like doing something meaningful is one of the most powerful motivators. So if you believe that you actually contribute to something, you're building something, that can greatly increase your sense of happiness in your life, even though it's not fun doing it. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it doesn't have to be a positive experience in the now, being engaged in something, but it still adds value. And you see this, that's why they would join some organization, some cause, and get up early on a Sunday even though they don't have to, because there's something worth fighting for, and that actually increases our quality of life as well. So, and I believe that's something that's being talked a lot about in this day and age. People talk about, meaning, well-being. I know you're aware of the Google program Search Inside Yourself, where they focus not on just the external things like the cheerfulness and the happiness, but really at the root core, who are you and how can you improve yourself and through your work? Mm-hmm. So if that answers your question, or please follow up.
No, yeah, absolutely. And actually, there's one more thing. In adding to that, my previous question is, from your standpoint, in order to achieve happiness in the workplace in an enduring manner, in a lasting manner, what do you think, John? What is the role that emotional intelligence plays to achieve happiness at the workplace in an enduring way?
Mm-hmm. So emotional intelligence is one of those funny concepts. It's a bit unclear what it actually means. I believe that mostly helps you in the most important area, namely dealing with other people for their sake. So if you have a high level of emotional intelligence, you will be able to behave in such a way that you hurt others less, and you are more sensitive to their needs, and you make them happier. and that improves the entire workplace. And in fact, that's also one of the best ways of improving the quality of your life, is getting out of your own head and focusing on the people around you. What can I actually do for them? I believe that one of the major causes of stress is focusing too much on yourself and your own projects instead of the meaningful objectives out there and the people around you. And emotional intelligence definitely helps you navigate better to the pleasure of those around you. So that is one thing you could recruit for. And I don't think you should maybe test for it, but we have this compass inside us. You know, we can sense this. And that's why I really believe that the people who are going to work with a new colleague, should actually meet this person and get a sense of who is that person. You know, do we get along? Do we like you? Is it someone that we want on our team? Because that's our sense of emotional intelligence right there. We can make it too academic, I think. Okay.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's cool down because there's a whole bunch of ideas popping into my head. So I'm going to cool down a little bit. And I apologize for the audience if I get too excited, because these types of topics are really, you know, enthuse me in order to get things going. But I'd like to pass on the mic to Rafael.
Carlos, I just want to let me grab on that one, okay?
Sure.
Because the excitement you show right now, that's exactly it. You know, that's what you need to feel at work. If you can manage to do that, you don't even just a pleasant life at work. You're going to the next level, what Martin Seligman calls an engaged life. So that excitement that you can't hide, that's also where you kind of forget what time it is and you don't go home at night because it's just so cool. That is an awesome way to feel. So don't ever put that away. Express it and enjoy it.
All right.
Because it adds to the quality of your work and it also impacts the people around you. So glad to see it.
Oh, well, that's great advice, John. And well, the reason why I said we're going to put my enthusiasm aside is because I want to, out of consideration, I also want to pass on the mic to Rafael. So, Rafael, please, do your thing.
Yes, I have another question, and it's about, as you know, in many countries, not only in Mexico, people are always afraid of lose their jobs, even if it is not a good job. What do you recommend to these people who feel unhappy at work?
Yeah, that's a real big issue. So in my first book, I co-wrote with a Danish friend and colleague, we had like a list of the 10 worst reasons to stay in a shitty job. And unfortunately, we see people doing that because they're afraid. You're afraid you won't find something else. You're afraid you're gonna be on the street, you know. And the thing is, it's not gonna get better. So if you wait and just hope for it to go away, it only detracts from the quality of your life. It doesn't even make you a better candidate in the future because you're spending your time doing shitty things. That doesn't make you a better, more skilled person. So if it is bad, I say that there's two strategies. Actually, I say this in all my seminars. If it's not working, there's two strategies. Strategy one is fixing it. So actively trying to fix your situation. Who do I need to get involved with? Is it my coworkers I need to reach out to? My boss? What needs to change to create a win-win? Because this is also in the interest of the company. Nobody wins if you hate your job. If you don't think you can do that, or you tried, or you don't have the energy, then strategy two is getting out of there as fast as you can and spending your energy and your talent elsewhere.
Yes.
Unfortunately, some people don't make the decision, so they end up just stalling, and time goes, and nobody wins.
Yeah, I think the problem here is not to get the hands on and do to have an active role and just be passive and wait to things to come along.
Yeah, and who wants to hire a person with that mindset? You know, so it's the people who actually do something about it that also are more attractive. Of course, if I live in a very safe society, if you live in a place where you would actually physically end up in the street if you quit your job, okay, take care of yourself. Be careful not to put yourself in that situation. But will that actually happen, or is there a safer way? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael, and thank you, John, as well. Rafael, may I?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. John, you were already here in Mexico with us. You led the team building activities as a facilitator back in, or by the end of 2015, last year. So what I would like to ask you now is related to that experience. Coming from Denmark, which, as we all know, it's vox populi that is considered one of the happiest countries on earth, right? So, but now you flew over to this side of the ocean, of the Atlantic, and then you visited us, you worked with us. So my question is, based on what you experienced while you were here in Mexico, and particularly at Nearsoft, okay, what were what did you spot that you could label as the major ingredients to achieve happiness at the workplace in this place on earth, in this spot in the world, in this country, in this environment that we have here? So what do you think that we should aim at in order to achieve full happiness at the workplace?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to what goes on in Denmark.
Yeah, so if we were to teleport Nearsoft to Denmark, I think you could be ranked one of the best places to work there as well, because you guys just you do an awesome job. And what I saw in Mexico could have been in one of the most dynamic, progressive parts in Europe, or it could have been Valley. And so I hadn't been to Mexico before, so I had some vague notions of what it would be like and what the people would be like and the culture of work. And then I just step into this marvelous, basically global workplace that's just like anywhere else where they really have their shit together. And one of the things that struck me that you do so well that I see people all over the world failing at is autonomy and giving people freedom to do a good job instead of micromanaging them, just command and control, which I heard from several of you employees. It's maybe more the usual approach in Mexico, but also one I see around the world, and it never works. So to achieve both happiness in the work and really kick ass, managers should set their people free. And I think you guys are role models that with more than 200 people, managers, people self-organizing, getting to express their strength in the projects that interest them the most, hiring a lot for personality, not only skill. I think that's an awesome recipe and one that should be copied.
Well, this is a message for the principals, for Correcto and Matt and everyone up there, the powers that be, as we affectionately call them. Well, we should teleport Nearsoft to Denmark. There you have it, folks. Let's work on it. Let's teleport it. Anything is possible. Remember, we went to Cancun, 230 of us, so we can go to Denmark easily, right?
Oh yeah.
Piece of cake. All right. Here's the thing. You mentioned this. You mentioned autonomy, right? So I think that autonomy, as you say, is one of the key elements that differentiates us at Nearsoft. So my next question to you would be, in terms of achieving happiness, what comes first? Autonomy leads to happiness, or does being happy lead to autonomy in a responsible way, in a way where you become accountable for what you're doing and your decisions while being autonomous? What comes first? What paves the road to what?
Yeah. Okay, so we might be comparing apples to oranges here. I'm not sure that you could put it like that. Definitely you can say, because this has been measured, that with increased autonomy, both motivation and happiness, employee satisfaction goes up. Okay, so Hertzberg discovered this back in the 1950s, that giving autonomy to people is just basically a really good idea. Are happy people, the other way around, are happy people then more autonomous? Well, I think happy people feel more safe, and so they might be able to take more risks, and they might actually take more charge of their situation. And you know, because autonomy is also something to be grasped, and if you're going to exploit it, and not just do what is told and fit in the box. One researcher, and her name eludes me at the moment, and since this is live, tough luck, but she talks about there's this continuum between psychological safety and performance. So imagine you can be on the scale, and a culture can be on the scale, where on one end you feel totally safe. Okay? You have a thought?
You said psychological safety, right? Psychological safety.
Yes. Psychological safety means that you don't think that people are after you. You know, this is a comfortable environment.
Oh,
I can let my
I see. I see.
This is where you do not write emails just so you have things in writing to cover your ass. But if you go too far on that end, if you're too far on the psychological safety side, then you might have a culture that is more like a group of a family where we are just focused on being super nice to one another, and there's no conflict, and you never say a bad thing. And that doesn't really work. That reduces performance. But on the other side of the scale, if it's just a performance culture, as a lot of big workplaces pride themselves in saying, then you lack the safety that will actually get people to be honest and take risks and commit because they're afraid to get caught out. And that doesn't work either. So you need the right balance, and definitely I would say that's more towards feeling safe than you usually see. And maybe that answers your question on happiness versus autonomy, because if you feel safer and you feel that this environment is actually a good place to be in, well, then you will also be able to contribute, take charge, take initiative, and use that autonomy if it is given.
Of course.
Okay, interesting question you posted there. I hope this answers sort of it.
No, actually it does. And well, but I'll stop right there because I know that Rafael he's cooking something up. So, oh, by the way, folks, let me just remind you, you can see now me on my screen, and remember that you can send us your questions, your tweets, your messages, your rate reviews, or whatever it is that you want to send us here at DojoLIVE. So that's our Twitter handle. So feel free to tweet to us, send a tweet to us, and we'll, if it's a question you're tweeting, we'll read him up, or John will respond. So, Rafael, back to you. You're cooking something up. So, what's your next question for John?
Yes. Here at Airsoft, we have a very democratic culture. So I'd like to know what you think about the role democracy plays in making a good workplace.
Yeah, I think that democracy in the workplace might be the biggest hack ever, and something to aspire to. In my book, 100 Happy Ways, it was the last of 100 tips, tools to use in the workplace, is have a democratic workplace. Sadly, it's also something I see almost nobody achieving or even trying. I know that when I talked to your founder and CEO, Roberto, and he told me that when he shares with competition, coworkers, what they're doing at Nearsoft, the usual response he gets is, well, you can't get there from here. So they won't even try because they don't have faith in their people. They believe it's impossible to achieve what you guys physically are achieving. So that goes to show that this can be done. And I also know that Nearsoft was put on the list, awarded on the list as most democratic workplaces by the World Blue Foundation, or what's it called, in the US. I actually went to their conference in New York City once, and met other democratic workplaces. fantastic organizations that are trying to promote democracy in the workplace. They're doing it for the benefit of humanity and the individuals. I think it's also a perfect business strategy, and that I believe is the lever that if this happens, you will have to pull, because corporations are still driven by money, so it has to be a sound business idea. But it is, and that's what Wall Blue is promoting through sharing the stories of all the fantastic workplaces that are actually doing this, like yourself, and sadly only really a few workplaces in Denmark.
Yeah, you said something very interesting, and it is to trust your team. I think when you trust your partners, you can do very interesting things, because you don't have this success only for you. You want to share it, and you are confident in your team that they will do very remarkable things for the company.
Right. I completely agree. Is there a follow-up question on that? I just completely agree with you.
No, I was just saying that it's related to trust your team, to build up a very a democracy. So.
Oh, definitely. So if you open up the floor, the mic to your people, then
Yes.
that is that is a show of trust, and you then have to not misuse that. And so if you actually ask people's opinion and they give it, then you're sort of obliged to actually do something about it. I see this failing all the time when big companies do like their annual employee satisfaction survey, which they do a lot of places. Maybe they do a workshop and they talk to people. So what are the issues you face? How can we improve? And people brainstorm, they write charts, and they give ideas to top management, and then they see nothing happening. That actually reduces trust and motivation. So if you're not going to do anything, don't ask the question. But I think you should ask the question, and you should also listen, and you should do something. That is the road to glory.
Yes, totally. Thank you.
Okay, Rafael, may I?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, Rafael. John, let me go back to the title of today's talk, which is Love Your Job or Die Trying, which is an interesting enough to pull my attention and ask you the following question. I mean, let's say that you and I have never met. It's the first time that I come here to the show, and then I read Love Your Job or Die Trying. Does it mean that it's either one or the other? It's love my job, which implies that I'm happy because I love what I'm doing, right? But then there's this other dark side, which is die trying. Does it mean that I'm not happy? Okay? Or does it mean that I should die trying, even though that I might not even love my job entirely, or might not even like what I'm doing? So, is it possible to achieve loving your job, becoming happy on something that you don't really feel comfortable with, in a way that you need to die trying? I don't know if I made myself across, but let me know.
So let me explain the title a bit more, because obviously there's also a provocation hidden in Love Your Job or Die Trying. I do like to shake things up. I am sometimes a troublemaker. I sometimes make people angry with what I say. I believe that if you, in order not to push people's buttons, if you always subtract something yourself from the point you're making, just to smooth things out, then things will still be smoothed out even further on the other side, and you end up nowhere. So sometimes it's okay to maybe be a bit harsh. But what I do mean with Love Your Job or Die Trying is that you shouldn't settle. Okay? So if it's not working, I believe that you should make the choice to get it to work and improve it. And I believe that you will not fail at that, because the act itself also of achieving or striving to achieve more and doing better is actually also a source of happiness. You feel that you're moving forward, you're creating your destiny. So it's the act of constantly working to improve your situation that I believe is the way to happiness. It's not a destination as much as it's an approach to how you work and how you view life. As the U.S. Constitution says, the pursuit of happiness. It's not the attainment of happiness. You don't really do that. It's just constantly working on it, not settling for a crappy situation. That I believe you should do it. Then you will succeed at that.
So what you're saying is that it's the voyage, it's the trip itself, not the destination.
Yeah, we have a name for destination. It's called dead. So it is definitely voyage. It's the trip. It's constantly learning, growing, exploring new things. The satisfaction of learning and experiencing. That never goes away. If that goes away, then you're slowly dying.
Okay. Thank you again, John.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one more thing that I'd like to ask you before I pass on the mic again to Barbara. Now, this goes back to your background. I understand that you have a background also in engineering, right? So, my question about relating or tying in happiness in engineering, is it the same? How can I say this? Let me work my thoughts, please. Is it equally easy for people who are in highly demanding areas, like intellectually demanding areas like engineering, software development, and these types of areas, is it equally easy for these people to attain happiness at the workplace as opposed to other types of, how can I say, professions or activities that might not be so glamorous after all, or might be a little bit more on the boring side? So, what would you say to these folks that are considering that they might already be at the pointless job or boring job? Is it possible for them to attain happiness even though that quitting is not an option for now?
So I think there's several things there. Let me try to grab on to one point. So in working with engineering, as was my study and my background, you could compare that to working in IT or medical research. Any brainy activity where you have a high level of skill, of problem-solving ability, then you're a person who, through training, have learned to learn actually, and it makes you naturally curious. We often label this being a nerd, and a nerd is really just being totally consumed by something that you find utterly fascinating, and other people don't seem to get the joke. And for those people, there is an immense source of happiness in actually exploring their field. And so if you're a rocket scientist, working 100 hours a week getting people to Mars can be a fantastic experience, because you're constantly striving to achieve very difficult goals, and it requires the most of you, and you need to constantly develop your brain and learn new things and solve problems, which is massively satisfying. And so I'm not sure if that was your question, but for people in that kind of jobs, the way to happiness is right there. It's actually being engaged in what you do.
Okay, well, let me just add something else to my question. What I meant was you, Rafael, myself, we might have those types of jobs which nature is naturally or intrinsically fun. It's, we do things, we're lucky because we do things that we really like, we really love, but we enjoy doing it in a natural way. So it's easier for us to say, hey, I'm happy in my job because I'm doing things that I like. I'm that lucky. However, there might be folks out there, I don't know how many, but there just might be folks out there, in Mexico or elsewhere in the world, that or who might not have such such luck or such glamorous jobs like ours. They might be on, like I said, on the boring side. They might say, I'm stuck at this dead-end job. I don't really love it, but I don't have an option, right? I'm manufacturing, I don't know, staplers, right? I'm manufacturing staplers every single day, and this is the only option available to me. So how can I be happy? Or is there a way to attain or pursue happiness in such questionable professional circumstances?
Okay, yeah. So the great question, and I could approach it. I think I'll approach it in several different ways. So one is I sometimes meet people who have a job, a simple job, it could be manual labor, and they would use the expression, well, I gotta earn a living. So basically, they go to work in order to be able to go home and then have money for when they're not at work.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question in that situation is, okay, so you got to do this because you need this money. Okay, fine. What if we have two situations? Do your work just to get your money, and then you can go be happy outside, or you have a different job where you also get that money, but also the work adds to the quality of your life, okay? And what I'm saying is that's the same job. So even in that job, how can you improve that job to actually add to your quality of life? And it's the same things. It's about human connection. It's about how do you feel with the people you work with. If you're at the factory, it still matters that you're kind to people and that you help them and that you make their day. It matters that you're engaged at work, so you try to do the best damn job you can at whatever you do. So if you actually feel like that, it will improve the quality of your life, and it will improve the job you're actually doing. Now, a completely different response to the question could be that, yeah, there are dead-end jobs. And I'll honestly say I'm glad I don't have one of those, because I've chosen to put myself forward and learn things that will give me a more interesting job. And luckily, the entire world is moving that way because we're democratizing and demonetizing education. So like right now, people around the world can watch and listen to this show for free. And they don't have to go to an expensive seminar hall and buy a ticket to learn new stuff. And you have more and more education available, and computers are dropping in price, artificial intelligence is coming, everybody has a smartphone. So it's getting more and more easy. So very soon, a kid in a poor village will have access to the same knowledge as this white dude from Copenhagen. And so we will see less and less of the need to survive manual labor, which will also be taken over by robots anyway. And so I believe as a planet, we're moving towards the basis for greater human flourishing. It's not going to be an easy travels, and it takes time. But definitely, if you look at the charts of how the world is actually doing, things are fantastic and moving forward very fast, very rapidly.
Excellent, John. Yeah, and we look forward to being able to join the ride as well, and jump in the bandwagon, as the saying goes. Okay, Rafael, we have a few minutes left, Rafael. So if you have any other questions, now is the time. So please go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to add about this. You said happiness has much to do with the personality of everyone. So maybe one of these people who have this boring job is happy just by the fact to have a job and to take money to their family, and it's okay. Maybe there's no other way to do it, but what you said is totally true. They could have an active role and maybe search for situations that improve their conditions, maybe talk to their bosses or organize I don't know, with other partners to look for a better situation. So I think it's okay to have one of these jobs, and it's possible to be happy with one of them. Um, so just I think there are 5 minutes more, and I just wanted to change a bit the question. Uh, I'd like to ask you. We know Denmark is one of it's labeled as the happiest place in the world. So what kind of freedoms exist there that you haven't seen elsewhere?
Yeah, so nice question. So main reasons why Denmark is scoring so well in those surveys on happiness, I believe, is very flat hierarchies. So both at work and in society in general, there's not much respect for authority, and in fact there isn't much authority. So people are very much equal. You know, we're one of the most equal countries in the world. If you look at status in society, if you look at income difference between rich and poor, the gap is very low. And that, I believe, matters a lot in people being happy and satisfied. Also, we've built a very safe society. The Danish model on the labor market is usually referred to as flexicurity. That means it's both flexible and you're still secure. So the unions, the labor unions, over the past century, and I know this quite intimately. My dad was a union president until he retired recently. Built a society that has the safety net under you. So if you get fired, you'll be okay. That also means that if you decide to quit your job, you'll also be okay. You know, you won't have to leave your house. That has the added bonus of companies having a greater supply of skilled labor because people are willing to change jobs. So as we talked about earlier, people are stuck in a shitty job. Well, they won't here. If the job is really shitty, they will quit. And then they'll find something else. And that makes for a very flexible labor market, meaning that more people are actually in a situation that they enjoy. And so this is a really win-win situation. Just comparing to just south of the Danish border, we have a massive country, Germany, with 80 million people, compared to the 5.5 in Denmark. And their labor market is not so flexible. It's very hard to fire people. That means that companies are reluctant to hire people. And so you end up with more people stuck in shitty situations, and nobody wins. And so those are the two main reasons that Danish people are very happy. You know, they have a safe society. There's a very low power distance and very low hierarchies. I could add one more, is there's a very high level of trust. If you poll Danish people, 9 out of 10 will say that they trust a stranger on the street. I believe just in Germany, very close by, it's only 4 out of 10. I heard that in LA, in the US, it's 1 in 16 that would trust a stranger on the street, but in Denmark it's 9 out of 10. And just to add that, people are pretty well off. They're not massively in debt. They have a nice place to live. They have a car. Most people have 2 cars. So the basic needs are met. But the other things matters much more. Oh, and we have the freedom to do whatever we want. We don't have to bow to all sorts of unwritten rules and sort of behaviors. You can be a Danish guy on a podcast, and you can decide to just on a whim have a beer, even though you're actually working, and it's fine, And you wouldn't be able to do that in, say, Asia, for example. So cheers.
Cheers. It sounds wonderful, really, and I think here in Nerdsoft we are doing a great job to achieve that. So my last question. I appreciate you to be here, and I'd like to know what motivates you to spread this happy message around the world.
Great question. I never get that. What motivates me to do what I do? So, like most people, I really get motivated by a sense of achievement. So doing a good job just feels fantastic. And for me, that's being in front of 200 people and delivering my passionate message, and then experiencing that it resonates with them. They find it useful. They feel they can put it into effect and actually achieve something. And also, I'm a sucker for recognition, like everybody else. Even though I actually, growing up, I still have a hard time with it. So when people recognize me and say I did a fantastic job, it still feels kind of weird. And a lot of people feel like this, but still it's something I encourage in my seminars, that we become better at recognizing each other in the workplace. So if the listeners would do just one thing different tomorrow, sort of like a homework here, I would say tomorrow at work, be mindful of how your coworkers are doing and try to catch somebody red-handed doing a great job, and then letting them know. That's a huge motivator and source of happiness, and including for me as well. And as I said, growing up, I really like to improve things, and here I feel that I can, with my engineer mind, I can sort of analyze what's going on in the workplace and in groups, and I feel I see the tricks sometimes, and I can see where the damn thing is broken, and I really, really want to fix it. And I'm constantly developing my skills in helping people fix their problems without just insulting them because I'm pointing out something.
Okay, perfect. So
yeah,
you're happy.
Does not work as well in personal relationships, though.
Yeah. So you're happy spreading happiness. That's okay. So thank
Very
you.
much so.
That's all for me, Carlos.
Excellent. I appreciate it, Rafael. And John, what you just described, definitely you're about Denmark specifically. I think Denmark is very well aligned with what we do at Nearstop. So in that sense, I now know that we could well import Denmark's government into Nearstop, or we can export it too, or we can do some exchange.
I think we should go to Mexico. We should go to Mexico because you have by far the best cuisine.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, we have excellent cuisine. It's a little bit on the dangerous side, if I may say so, but it's good. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. No, folks. Well, we have reached today's. We're about to wrap up because, well, all good things must come to an end eventually, and this is no exception. But what I would like to do is I want to thank John Nielsen. Please, John, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, but it's, as you know, it's foreign to me, but I think I got it right? John Nielsen, and he was here with us today talking specifically about happiness and how to achieve it or die trying. John, thank you so much for having been with us today. You and I are going to be in touch. There's a lot more to be shared and asked and all that, so we'll keep you posted on that, and we're going to be sending you some tokens of appreciation, which are going to be a little bit of a surprise. You get them on your FedEx, and this might be one of them. These brand new shirts, DojoLIVE shirts, right here. And Rafael, thank you for today's participation. You were great. And folks, that's pretty much it for today. We're wrapping it up. Ladies and gentlemen, John Nielsen in DojoLIVE today. John, any final words for the audience?
Thank you, Carlos. It's been such a pleasure being here. I think you had great questions. Hopefully our audience find my answers somewhat useful. For me, it was a great experience being here. Today I've been recording episode 19 on the Happy Ways podcast, and doing something not scripted and more free-flowing, like a Q&A like this, has been a fantastic experience, and something I hope to do again with someone. So yeah, as the post-it says, I'm at happyways.com, and the podcast is Happy Ways as well, so you can, in iTunes or wherever, you can just find Happy Ways, and yeah, it's all free. It's all knowledge to help you love your job or die trying.
Absolutely. Oh, just one more thing. I just want to add something here, and I believe, John, that this is your Twitter handle, right?
Yes, it's at happyways.com on Twitter. So at happyways.com.
Okay, great, awesome. So anyway, we'll be sharing all this information. It's going to be available on our website. So stay tuned, folks. Again, John, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Jan.
Namaste.
Have
Cheers.
a great day.
Cheers.
Cheers.